Yeah. So welcome everyone to the week one of fifth batch of prayers and meditations by the Mother. And I really feel thankful and blessed that we can continue this journey. Thanks to all of you who are wanting and willing to continue. So today we have this prayer, November 2, 1912. This is the first prayer in the book. Although we know that this is not the first prayer written by the Mother, but this is first prayer in the book that we have prayers and meditations. And this is what is written on the top of the book in the starting. This book comprises extracts from a diary written during the years of intense yogic discipline. It may serve as a spiritual guide to three principal categories of seekers: those who have undertaken self mastery, means those who want to be a master of themselves, those who want to find the road leading to the divine, and those who aspire to consecrate themselves more and more to the divine work. So we have to see, where we are, because if we are not in these three categories, it won't be benefiting us much here. That's what Mother is saying, that it may serve as a spiritual guide through these kind of seekers. Yeah, this is Mother's original writing. She has written this herself, the note. And Mother says, some give their soul to the divine, some their work, their life, some offer their work, some their money. A few consecrate all of themselves and all they have: soul, life, work, wealth. These are the true children of God. Others give nothing. These, whatever their position, power, and riches are for the divine purpose, valueless ciphers. So, those people who do not give anything, Mother says that they are valueless ciphers. And this book is meant for those who aspire for an utter consecration to the divine. And we, when we begin on this path, and please feel free to comment or share or reflect, just kind of introducing the course once again. When we enter this path, we are not really sure that we want to offer ourselves to the divine. We just are suffering or in pain, and we want a relief from the pain. That is how we start this journey, that we want answers. We are looking for answers, a bit of relief from the pain and suffering of life, ordinary human consciousness. But then at the moment we enter the game, we realize, oh my God, there is all of a whole different world altogether that is here, waiting for us to be kind of embarking the journey on, which we could not have known if not for the pain and suffering given to us through our ordinary consciousness. So that's what I felt, that I never thought that this would be the path, but somehow more and more it appears that this is the only path worthy of this life. Yeah. So anyone who wants to share on these two paragraphs are welcome. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, so this is how we go about it. The very first course, when we started with it, we were using Dr. Alok Pandey's talks back to back. So every prayer, whenever he has given a talk, we will be picking up that talk and the prayer, and then we will share our reflections. But as more and more people continued, and we were kind of evolving and growing together, we thought that why not just take it up like that and share our own individual reflections, rather than all the time taking the talk first and then understanding. So although I'm sure that we have our limited view of understandings, all of us, but I think we should give this a try, to reflect solely by ourselves all alone, and then share and expand our kind of views by listening to others. So I think this is also another way by which this can be approached. Yeah. And in future we can take up some of the talks also by Alok Pandey, Dr. Alok Pandey. That is how we started. Or not, it's totally free. It's a completely organic course, so as and when needed we can use that. Yeah. So I'm sure all of us have gone through the prayer and reflected or contemplated on it. If one by one you can unmute and share your insights, your reflections, that would be really nice.
I can go, Monica. This is Shilpi.
Yes, Shilpi, please. Yeah.
Yes. So I feel this prayer is really special. I came to Auroville about 2 years ago, and I was initially working at Savitri Bhavan, and then there is one big hall in Savitri Bhavan, on the walls of which, kind of the mother's story is put in various charts, like pictures and written text. And there, for the first time, I saw this prayer, and I was really just magnetized by it. I was really attracted to this prayer, and since then, it has remained one of my favorite prayers by the mother. And it shows, to me, it's special because it also shows like little practical things that I can do on an everyday level to feel that connection. And also it shows where I am and where the mother is when she's um, embarking on this journey. Or like you mentioned, it is the first book in the prayer, but it may not be really the first one that she has written. But yeah, so um, where even the first line where she says, although my whole being is in theory consecrated to thee, O Sublime Master, who art the life, the light, and the love in all things, I still find it hard to carry out this consecration in detail. Now, this first line itself, it kind of shows me that she's talking about, although my whole being is in any case consecrated to thee, offered to thee, surrendered to thee. And then I feel like, okay, where am I? And I see myself entangled in this and that, and still holding and nurturing the aspiration of that complete surrender, and yet being kind of on this path where I see every day where I am in many different places, and not really in the place of that offering and surrendering. And then what I really like, and what I think is something that can be used in everyday living, is when she says that it has taken me several weeks to learn that the reason for this written meditation, its justification, lies in the very fact of addressing it daily to thee. In this way, I shall put into material shape each day a little of the conversation I have so often with thee. I shall make my confession to thee, as well as it may be, not because I think I can tell thee anything, for thou art thyself everything, but our artificial and exterior way of seeing and understanding is, if it may be so said, foreign to thee, opposed to thy nature. And this is beautiful because she's showing us a way that even though whatever I'm engrossed in is something that feels far away from the truth, and yet when I am writing and when I'm offering and when I'm praying in that form, then I'm offering something of me every day, and it's sort of concretized by writing. So this I really like. I like the whole prayer. I can read every line, but there is one more that jumps out, and then I will pass it on to somebody else to share their experience with the prayer. But towards the end of the first paragraph, where she says, "This is the goal that I would reach. Towards this victory, all my efforts will tend more and more. I aspire for the day when I can no longer say I, for I shall be thou. And that to me seems like the pinnacle of the state of surrender and consecration that she's constantly speaking about. So, yeah.
Yeah, Shilpi, is there, if there is anything more you want to share, please go ahead. We have enough time. You don't have to concise or trim your sharing. Yeah.
Okay, no, I was thinking maybe somebody else can share and then I can also share in like a in a second go or something like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. ठीक है. Great. Thank you so much. Yeah. So anyone who wants to go next? Yeah. Yes, Jishnuji. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, I guess Shilpi knew that she will be covering the entire part. No, I'm joking. It's you. You have covered it very beautifully, and what she said, and this prayer. Even I mean, as you have said, this is the opening prayer, and I always liked the first line. The first line also struck to me very. Um, it resonated, and why it resonated is, of course, that with what candor, with what frankness Mother has written this, that although my whole being is in theory consecrated, and we all know that she is a divine mother, this book was published much later, but she is showing her imperfection in that way, that although I am in theory consecrated to thee, but throughout the day, there are moments when I miss that connection with you. And that is the purpose of this written meditation. And that is the second thing which I liked is she called this as written meditation. She has defined this as a written meditation. And later, if we see in her works, Mother has been a very purposeful person. She was a very practical person and very purposeful. She has stated when she was expressing about dynamic meditation or about meditation that one should have, before meditating, one should contemplate why does one wants to meditate, whether to get peace, whether to get intuition, whether to get something high. And here she is expressing that this is the purpose of this written meditation. And also, I find nice because I have also practiced written meditation as so that's another personal reason why this opening prayer is very special to me, because when I write or when I try to meditate and write, it gives a different kind of feeling. Even earlier on, I have seen when I just copy maybe the from prayers and meditation, it creates a different environment around me, and that's why I also thought of joining this session. Some of the other aspects which I find is, let's see. Yes, this is also the state of continuous connection with the divine, which she later separately to the children, she has stated that the constant remembrance and the offering. And there she also said, that is around towards the end, that she said that how many times a day still I act without my action being consecrated to thee. I at once become aware of it by an indefinable uneasiness, which is translated in the sensibility of my body by a pang in my heart. And she expanded on this topic separately in her talks, and she said that once you want to get connected, and then if you throughout the day, if you're doing something and you see that you are not so connected, you will feel an uneasiness. It should make you feel uneasy. She used, I'm paraphrasing, it will make you feel uneasy. And when you feel this uneasy, what is this uneasiness comes from? This uneasiness is stemming from the fact that we are not connected with the inner self or the divine, whichever way we want to say. And then she says, I then make my action objective to myself. And I don't understand clearly what does she means by this part. And it seems to me ridiculous, childish, or blameworthy. I deplore it, but for a moment I am sad. until I dive into thee, and there, losing myself with a child's confidence, await from thee the inspiration and strength needed to set right the error in me and around me. Two things are the one. And here I believe while she is saying that the two things are the one is in me and around me, is she is identifying with the entire universe or the life inside and outside. And that's why she is saying, I'm trying to set right what is within me and outside me. And it's a very, I mean, if we attend any meditation session or mindfulness class, they will always say, if you see that you have wavered off, do not judge yourself. Just try to come back to the central point. Just try to come back. If you see your attention has wavered up, try to come back. Don't judge that you have wavered. And exactly that she is saying, I plunge within myself, get the connection, and then try to come back where it is right, balanced. That would be my reflections on this.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Jishnuji. Yeah. Yeah, anyone who wants to go next?
Um, I think we covered this prayer some classes back.
Yes,
When,
yes, we have. Yeah.
yeah, and the whole thing is resonating all over again because it it was one of the first ones we did. So the impact was very strong, and basically all that we have to do is what has been spoken by Shilpi and Jishnuji. So I wouldn't add any more. I'll listen to you when you take over.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so Swapna and Chitraji, whoever wants to go next.
Yeah, I'll go, Monica.
Yes,
Actually,
please.
yeah. First, actually, I want to tell my experience how I came to mother. I mean, a mother came to me, of course, actually. But yeah, as you said, it was a wonder first. Seeing the ashram atmosphere and also Auroville, Savitri Bhavan, everything. It created wonder. I mean, a lot of wonders in my thing, actually. So I am totally attracted to this path, and I don't know. It was a long path for me. It is a long journey, but joyful journey. Yeah, I can say. Yeah, these prayers and meditations. Yeah, I used to read a lot, but now after these sessions only, I find. I mean, little. I can go little deeper into it now. Actually, that is the thing. And especially this prayer, the central importance is about consecration, of course, the surrender, no? So I used to ask mother, whenever any problem arises, any crisis, I used to surrender. That moment is an intensified moment. That is, I can say, the wholeheartedly I used to surrender. But after some time, the same problem, I mean, if it continues, my worries also will continue, so my fear, my doubt will also arise. So then I will go and ask mother, why my surrender is not a fulfilled surrender, why it is so. But that time I felt it is fulfilled, actually. So that doubt will be there. But of course, nowadays I can, I mean, understand it is all a mind game, again and again the fears and worries and all. But the surrender, that time it is a really total surrender. But after that, if mind plays the game, yeah, that should be a consecration again, I feel. And about that return meditation, yes, I also used to write. Whenever I write, no, I feel very light inside, actually. I mean, no burden, no worries. It made me light, very light, actually. That return meditation helped me a lot, actually. So that is also there. Then the I used to feel, actually, opening fully oneself to the divine happens whenever I write the thing. Actually, without any reservations, I can open totally to Divine Mother. So that written meditation helped me. And that one is not because of those lines, actually, I will find. Yeah. First. Not because I think I can tell thee anything, for thou art thyself everything, but our artificial and exterior way of seeing and understanding is, if it may be so said, foreign to thee, opposed to thy nature. These lines reminded me actually one because mother is a divine mother. She put the cloak of human beings on her for the sake of earth. Okay, so mother used to, I mean, whenever she used to see the human beings, I mean, she used to say, it seems, why it is it's taking long time to change the human nature. She used to wonder. So maybe these lines, no, with that compassion, she is addressing it for the sake. I feel like that, for the sake of human beings, she is addressing like this. So I feel somewhat I have that feeling like that actually, because even in the prayers and meditations, I will read those things. Sri Aurobindo said, the divine puts on an appearance of humanity, assumes the outward human nature in order to tread the path and show it to human beings, but does not cease to be the divine. It is a manifestation that takes place, a manifestation of a growing divine consciousness, not human turning to divine. The mother was inwardly above the human even in childhood. So the view held by many is erroneous. Someone asked about this actually. Why mother is telling, so I can't do, I can't surrender. Why mother is telling like that? So Sri Aurobindo answered clearly this thing. So these lines brought me that thought actually. Then, yeah, second para, this is the real condition. No, how many times a day still I act without my action being called. This is the real condition of, I mean, all the human beings I feel. So till that identification happens, till you feel unite with the divine, this is the condition of all the human beings. And also this is the aspiration to go and unite, and this is also the path. So after you contemplate upon the whole prayer, yeah, that total surrender and consecration should become the, I mean, way of life, I feel. Yeah, this is the thing I want to share. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. You know
Mhm.
that line in Savitri where Sri Aurobindo says, yeah, through
Mhm.
your pangs and griefs, you moved toward God. You know, I think
Yeah,
that's shared. Yeah,
yeah, correct.
true, true. Yeah, each challenge has to become just a way to move towards God.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chitra ji. Yeah,
yeah.
thank you. So, Swapna, anything that you want to share?
There were two lines, so much has been covered already, but two lines that stayed with me more. One was this still by turning towards thee, by immersing myself in thy light. At the moment when I considered these things, little by little I shall see them more like what they really are. Until the day when, having made myself one in identity with thee, I shall no more have anything to say to thee, for then I shall be thou. And for me, somehow it just sunk in a little more of, why remember her all the time, or remember the divine? Why name it? That this sank in a little more, that even her, the Divine Mother, is saying that little by little I shall see them more like what they really are. And so that was a really important reminder for me. And then again, always this amazing promise of the potentiality in me, I guess in us all, that then I shall be thou, right? So that this I shall be thou, like this, that the divine is really innate and within, and the possibility very much of reaching that is, yeah, it is comforting and reassuring and encouraging. And then the other thing is in the second paragraph, where she says that I then make my action objective to myself. And it seems to me ridiculous, childish, blameworthy, and I deplore it for a moment, and I am sad. And I realize, like, wow, even the Divine Mother would have a moment of, even if it was early in her life, but still that she had this experience that I do so often, you know, of blaming myself or deploring it or the sadness. So just again, being able to, that she related, and that this, you know, objectivizing myself is something that I often do, is just, you know, just looking at what I've just done, rethinking it, like projecting it on a screen, but then often I can stay in it, you know, in the blaming or the feeling bad. And then this way out, right? So clearly defined. It's like, until I dive into thee. And then losing myself with a child's confidence, await from thee the inspiration. And so the inspiration and strength to set right, like again, it's just simply about diving into the divine, and therefore allowing from that space the solution or the correction to come, as opposed to what I can, or ego vital can do, which is just stay in the blaming, you know, and try and set it right, my error, set it right from that place. It's like, this is the clear way out. And that was really valuable to me, both those things.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes. Thank you, Swapna. Yeah. Anything more from anyone? Okay. So please, I'll just start the sharing, and please feel free to unmute and share at whatever instance you feel like you have a reflection or insight into whatever is being talked about. Yeah, so again, although my whole being is in theory consecrated to thee. So, you know, the moment I read this line, I think luckier are those ones who know that they are on this path, because otherwise it's purposeless, it's meaningless to live this life, you know, and that's why we go into despair and depression, because we have little goals to run after, and they just soon seem to lose their luster, and we have nothing to really live for. And here, you know, Mother is very sure, and that is the surety I believe slowly we also have to develop. Although my whole being is in theory consecrated to thee, it is for you that I live. O Sublime Master, who art the life, light, and the love in all things. You know, if you have seen a dead body, it's not the same person who we saw. You know, it's just lifeless. So it's very true that the divine is the life that is present in me, and how obviously we ignore it, that I am not this body, because if just left for the body lies lifeless when it has no life energy, life force. And hence it tells me that all that animates my being, the one who looks through these physical eyes, is no one but the divine. Yeah, who are the life, the light, you know, the light of consciousness, which which allows us to see our ups and downs, our challenges, our mood swings, our thoughts coming and going. What is that light of consciousness in me? Again, the divine, the life, the light, and the love in all things. And Mother says that the human consciousness, love, ordinary human consciousness, it is just a mixture, emotional mixture, plus a little bit of love, you know. And this is our task. We have to purify and sort the emotional mixture out, the expectations and selfishness and manipulations out, so that all that is left is love as the way of being, you know, that I cannot do but being full of love. So we have to slowly, kind of gradually, I believe, move towards that kind of a purity. And Mother says, you know, as you all were sharing, that it's so candid, mother shares, that I still find it hard. I know that you are there for whom I live, but I see that at times I give into falsehood. I live by my tendencies, I live by my hopes and desires and ambition. I clearly see that happening. I still find it hard to carry out this consecration in detail. Now this is our journey, as a human being towards a life divine. This is our journey, and we see so many times. I have seen myself failed so many times, and if I was to give to blame myself and go into shame and guilt, I could not just move on. And I actually developed a strong compassion for people who commit crimes, and even terrorists, for example, because if I can do so many times, fail, even knowing that I don't want to fail, given to my tendencies, given to my uh, desires all the time, blind hopes, blind expectations, then the poor fellow who has done a little bit of crime, if I blame myself, then he has no hope left. He can just keep on hitting his head on the wall, that, oh my God, what wrong I have done. But that is not the journey is about. The journey is about just dusting your pants off and walking forward. If we spend too much of time in blame, shame, and being guilty of what I have done, there is no hope for humanity. The only hope, the only way is to look forward, dust our pants, learn from our lessons, our failures. As Sri Aurobindo in Savitri says, that the supreme diplomat makes even a fall a means for his greater rise. That is what we have to do. We have to just use all our failures, although knowing that, yes, I am failing, but you're feeling so helpless. You are just given into some tendency, some behavior, some pattern. Even then, we have to just, whenever we are ready, dust our pants and go ahead. That is the thing that we have to do. Otherwise there is no hope. We are actually dog's tail. That's how we are made, as Sri Aurobindo says. Human nature is like a dog's tail. So we don't have to take the blame of being dog tail on myself. It's the divine who made us the dog's tail, but the divine also gave us the capability to plunge deeply within, and then to take the strength from there and to move on. That is also with me. Yeah. This reminds me of a beautiful story of this. Again, I read it in Sri Manoj Das's Tales Told by Mystics, where there is this fellow who goes to ashram, and in ashram he learns to know this little line, Aham Brahmasmi. And then he's reflecting upon it, and he's sharing with his friends that everything is Brahm, all is Brahman. And then he's all the time, even through walking or walking through the streets, walking through the roads, he's reflecting upon it. So then he's so sure, he says that, oh my God, everything is Brahm, so I don't have to be afraid of anything. So he's started to walk on the middle of the road. In the middle of the road, all the traffic is there, elephant is coming, on which there is a Mahavat sitting, and the elephant is saying, the Mahavat is saying, go off, back off, otherwise you'd be hit by the elephant. But then he's saying, elephant is also Brahm, I am also Brahm, all of us are Brahm, so what am I to worry about? But then he gets kicked off by the elephant. Elephant takes him by the trunk and pushes him off. And then when he's hurt, he goes back to the ashram and asks his guru, what is this going on? Because you said that everything is Brahm, so what is this going on? And then he says, yes, you're right, everything is Brahm, but the Mahavat sitting on the hathi or the elephant was also Brahm. So he said, back off, but why didn't you hear to that Brahman? So this is how we fool ourselves, that we only look at half the picture, that yes, my nature is like a dog's tail, but I also have the capacity to dust my pants off and move on. So why not again and again make use of that capacity also? Yeah, and not just focus that, oh my God, there is just dooms waiting for me and there is no hope for me. Yeah. So yes, it has taken me several weeks to learn that the reason for this written meditation, which all of you have so beautifully already shared, the written words have a beautiful power. As if they go into our body, they embed themselves in the body. And that's why lies the power of affirmations. We were talking the other day that whenever you begin to have a negative thought in the head about anything, about the whole globe, the world situation, or anything, just reverse it into your highest possibility. What is the highest you could be thinking right now? That the whole of earth is taken care of, and all humanity is rising up to their highest possibility, something like that. And then you affirm it, you write it down, you keep on writing down like a mad person, so that through your body it enters your being. And the whole process of the negative loop of thinking that goes on in our head, it is transformed, transmuted to the very cell of the body. So this is a very, very beautiful power that we have been given. People have reversed their diseases, their situations, by these written kind of affirmations that yes, this is the case. And then mother shares, this is why I write it down. Its justification lies in the very fact of addressing it daily to thee. That it's like I am posting a letter to you, my beloved, in that sense. In this way I shall put into material shape. So whatever I am thinking, I am actually making forms. Mother says that all thought is matter. So the moment you have thought about anything, you are putting it into material manifestation. You may not know what you are doing, but it's happening. Yeah. So now by writing it all down, mother is actually giving it a material shape every day. Mother is making it happen for her. So if we want to make anything happen for ourselves and a higher good, for our own good and for other people, this is what can be used as a tool to give it material shape, and not always be absorbed in the negative vicious loop of thinking that goes on by default. We have the power to control the active flow of thought also, as mother says herself. So she is giving into a material shape each day a little of the conversation I have so often with thee. And this is only a part that mother shares. You will experience that throughout the day you are communing with the divine or your deepest, most being. But only you are able to give it material form only to the part that you are writing. So mother is saying, this is the material form that I am giving to this part that I want to write. I shall make my confession to thee as well as it may be. So I'll try to, put it out in words as well as possible. Not because I think I can tell thee anything. Obviously, you are antaryami. How can anybody tell you anything? Not because of that. For thou art thyself everything. But our artificial and exterior way of seeing and understanding is foreign to thee, opposed to thy nature. Now, this is the way we go by the ego. This is how the ego operates. That if I want to commune with the divine, the ego has to write a letter to the divine. It's the divine already knows. Mother would say that I already know what is there in your cupboards, but you have to open your cupboards to me, because you have to consciously know what is lying there in your cupboards. I think I read a couple of instances, Jishnuji and Chitraji may know, where mother would look at Sadhak's room and she would directly go to the place where it was, the mess, and the mess had been put in a cupboard, just to show that mother, rest every place is neat and clean. And mother would directly go and open that cupboard which was not neat and clean. All the stuff is kind of, pushed inside that drawer. So mother says that if you want to really work on yourself, if you want to open whole of your being to myself, to me, then you have to show me your darkest most places. It's not that I don't know it, but you have to show me, because you should know. You should not be hiding it from me. So this is the way how ego surrenders to the divine. The ego belongs to the divine. Obviously everything is divine, but this is the journey, this is the adventure, that the ego first separates itself from the divine, and then we enjoy the journey back to the divine, slowly, in gradual steps, no matter through how much of pain and suffering it may take. So this is why this is the exterior and artificial way of understanding and seeing, this kind of an addressing to your higher self. Just like Arjun is asking questions to Sri Krishna. Now Arjun is obviously asking to his own higher self. This is a metaphor. Many, many masters have said that it's a dialogue of the higher self and the lower self. But the way we see it is that he's talking to a different being altogether. And that being is the divine being, which encompasses everything, even Arjun. As if we are in that divine, we are living in that divine. Ego is a part of the divine. Ego is not separate from the divine. And yet we have to do this journey of surrender. Yeah. So this is opposed to thy nature. Why opposed to thy nature? Because your nature is antaryami. You are omnipresent. You are omni knower. You know everything. So how can you not know this? But it's my duty to tell you this. Slowly I have to open my hidden chambers to you and not keep them to myself, because there would be no light being shed on those hidden corners. This is a way which we can use. I'm sure all of us are aware, that the moment we see that there is some tendency rising in me, and it rises again and again, a behavior pattern or a thought pattern, or maybe a way of the vital to give into something, the moment you see it rising, you just immediately tell the mother, this is rising up again, this is rising up again, and do not indulge yourself in that behavior or that vital need or that pattern. And then it slowly just kind of disappears. Mother takes care of it. So then she shares that still, by turning towards thee, this is comforting, this is very comforting. Still, by turning towards thee, by immersing myself in thy light, at the moment when I consider these things, little by little I shall see them more like what they really are. With the little limited view of the ego, we are not able to have a larger vision, and that is why suffering is there, that is why pain is there. Whenever we lose people in our life, we are not able to make sense why that person gone away so quick. So ego, the way of looking of the ego of the mind, is very limited. We don't have a larger vision. But if we turn towards the higher within us, the higher divine godhead within us, then it clearly tells us that, oh my god, it is growing me, it is making me progress. So that is why maybe that separation from a loved one was needed. Otherwise, if left to me, I would never care to progress, if everything is left hunky dory. And that is why pain comes into picture. Pain is like the divine sculpture who is trying to chisel you into a beautiful shape, but it pains, it hurts, and hence we have to just develop more and more strength to go through the pain, because it's an auspicious pain that we go through. Yeah. And until the day, how long do I have to do this? Until the day when, having made myself one in identity with thee, I shall no more have anything to say to thee, for then I shall be thou. This is our highest, as Shilpi was sharing, highest possibility. You know, that no communion is required, because you are that. You are that. And not only in theory, but in practice, in implementation. But again, we have a long way to go, but still we have to start wherever we are ready. Wherever we are standing, we just have to take that as the base and start from there. And this is the goal that I would reach. Towards this victory, all my efforts will tend more and more. This is the certitude Mother shares in every prayer, that I don't want anything but this in my life. At a human level, we are not sure what we want. As I was sharing, that the moment we start on this divine journey, the spiritual path, we are not really prepared for what all is to come. That slowly I will have to give everything, really, all of my life consecrated to divine. No, I didn't, really buy into that. I didn't kind of imagine that happening. But that's the only way. Otherwise there is no end to suffering. Suffering will continue as long as we are not fully turned towards the divine. For all the support, for all the emotional need, for all the, Mother says that if you do not bank upon the divine for everything you need and desire, then you are sure to fall on your nose. And we know how many times we have fallen on our nose. So this will continue. And then Mother says, I aspire for the day when I can no longer say I. There is no need to commune with you, because you are me and I am you. We are one. For I shall be thou. Yeah, anything from this first paragraph? Anyone? Any further reflection? Okay. So let's continue then, if not anything. Now this, as everybody was sharing, how many times a day I still act without my action being consecrated to thee. Now what do I do? Should I go into shame, blame? What do I do about that? Yes, it happens. Yes, I go into my tendencies. I give way to my vital. I give way to my mental rigidities. So many times I do this. So many times I give way to my physical inertia, the laziness. But how long can I go on blaming myself? Because blame is another trap, nothing else. So mother is sharing a beautiful tool, as rest of you were sharing, a beautiful tool which can be used here. I at once become aware of it by an indefinable uneasiness. Now, Jishnuji was sharing that the moment I decide that this is the path for me, the moment I sway from the path, I will be uneasy. Now, I have to share something about this uneasiness. We have the capacity as human beings, living by our tendencies, behavioral patterns, and emotional attitudes. We have the capacity to prolong this uneasiness for years. I have an experience where I was uneasy for almost 2 years, on and off, switching like a pendulum. I did not want to be there where I was, but yet I could not help but be there. I was extremely uneasy, and that uneasiness continued for me on and off, bit of a relief, feeling okay, and then again stuck by that tendency, whatever was, bothering me. So this uneasiness, I think, has the capacity to go on for a long, long time, unless you really plunge deeply and almost find your way back home. This can go on for a longer time. And then mother says that I feel it as a pang in my heart. You know that something is not right, but you don't know how to correct it. You know that this is not the right path, but yet the right path you are not able to take. That is the uneasiness. Yeah, so this may happen moment to moment. You can resolve yourself immediately after a moment passes, or after an hour or a day passes, or a few days pass, but it can also continue for a long time. I feel that whatever we have to go through, we just have to go through. It has to go take us a full circle for that tendency to be uprooted from its basic inconscious root, so that it would never turn back again its face on us. And Sri Aurobindo says that whenever you uproot a tendency, first it goes into the, in the subconscious, then it, even if you throw it out, it goes into the inconscious, then it remains in the atmosphere, and even then it can come back. So the task is not easy. It's a difficult task that we have, at hand. So the only saving grace is stay, and as Jishnuji was again sharing that, remember the path, remember again and again, the mother is next to you, mother is with you all the time. And mother shares, what is the path ahead? When I feel this uneasiness and I see that I have swayed from the path, I then make my action objective to myself. Now, anything that is objective is a little far from us. Like I am looking at the laptop. So the laptop is objective to me. I am not the laptop. Whenever we are able to step back from that tendency which led to that uneasiness, that is what is called objectification. That you are the blue sky and you see the cloud as the cloud just passing over you. But at times it is not possible, and we are just lost in that dark cloud so heavily that we have no remembrance of the blue sky. It is just a theory for us, and we are just lost, entangled, thinking that I am the dark cloud. That is non-objectivity. Knowing that I am one with the cloud, that is non-objectivity. And then struggling also. But then the moment I am able to step back from that tendency or a pattern or a behavior which is the cause of uneasiness, that I see that, oh my God, it was actually very childish of me doing that. How on earth did that happen? So mother sees that, then the moment I am objective to it, then it seems to me ridiculous. Then, only then it seems to me ridiculous. That, oh my God, how could I fall into this trap again? Childish even. That what was the desire that I was after? Why on earth I was after that little desire, stupid desire of mine, giving so much energy to it? Or even blameworthy, because when we fall to these neither high, lows and depths, we actually don't feel very nice about it. We feel that we could do better, but if we had known better, we could have done better also. But at that time we had to just be in the neither depths. And Sri Aurobindo in Savitri says that we have to actually be one with the darkness, just like we are one with the sun. So we don't have to be afraid of falling into those neither depths, because there also there is only one divine that hides itself into the depths of the darkness. So mother says that I deplore it. I say that how could I do it? I deplore it. For a moment, I am sad because you know that you could do better. You know that it was not your highest possibility. You could have done better. Just like any criminal would say, that even if he murdered someone, he knows very clearly and he feels ashamed about it that it was not his highest possibility. He could have done better. He could have thought, but he was not able to in that moment. And then the only resolution that we have is, I dive into thee, and there, as if a wave crashes back into the ocean, not looking for any external resolutions, but plunging into the depths of my being and being one with that blue sky, totally one. There, losing myself with a child's confidence. Child knows that everything is well, all is well. The clouds are just passing clouds. A child's faith is a beautiful, a child is even in oblivion. He does not even know that he is so faithful, but he is. So, with a child's confidence, I await from thee the inspiration and strength needed to set right the error in me and around. So, at first, I plunge into the depths, I get the courage, the strength to move on, and then I correct, harmonize within the being, and then I also am able to take any action which is required in harmony in the external situation, whether in a relationship or a matter, life situation, whatever. So before this can happen, all the actions would be fruitless, almost futile, because they would not be coming from this deeper, higher knowledge. Yeah. And then mother shares that two things are one. And this we have again and again shared, that we are not the body. Just like uh, a space is there, a vast space is there, and there are 10 houses in that space. We can say that each house has a little space inside it. Yeah. But the houses are in space. The moment a tsunami comes and takes away the houses, the space is always one. There is a continuity that was there in the face value of houses. It was not visible, that continuity of space. And this is the continuity, the light of consciousness, the light of pure awareness. It's a continuous light. And that's why the outer thing which appears to me outer, owing to the physical form it may have, it is one with me. Just like the moment tsunami takes away all the houses, we see that the space is a continuous space. There is no break in space, that there is a difference between the space of this house, the next house. There is no discontinuity. So this is the oneness that we share, and that is why we feel sad when somebody else is feeling sad, because there is a continuity. We feel the pain of the other. But many a times, most often than not, it is mixed with the vital and mental elements, and hence it is more futile for us to feel that pain. It just keeps on bothering us rather than we can do something about it or pray maybe intensely. So this is what it means by two things that are one. There is a continuity. We are all one. Physical form does not separate. It appears to give a separation. And that's why if we destroy the earth, we are destroying ourselves. If I destroy a tree, I have destroyed a part of me. For I have now a constant and precise perception of the universal unity. Mother says that I am now one. I have a constant union with that continuing awareness which is one in all. The light with which you see your thoughts going and coming is the same light with which I see my thoughts coming and going. The light is the same, it's one light. There is no separation in light. This is what mother shares, that I have now a precise and constant perception of this universal unity determining an absolute interdependence of all actions. So if I do inner work, and often we have discussed this, inner work is almost like a social work. You know, you are, the moment you begin path of your inner work, you're actually changing ripples, giving ripples out into your atmosphere, and that will change people around us also without talking or not talking with them. Yeah, this is the power of coming home to oneself, or being more and more in communion with oneself, which is a long journey. Yeah, so I think that's that. Anything, if anything is coming to you, please come up and share.
So beautifully explained, Monica. Actually, I wanted to ask about this. I at once became aware of it by an indefinable uneasiness, which is translated in the sensibility of my body by a pang in my heart. And next line also, you explained it very well. Thank you very much. I then make my action objective to myself. No, that I couldn't understand that time. What is that objective to myself? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I understood clearly. Yeah. Thank you very much.
No, I feel that many a times, at least I have found myself into a situation where it is not possible to make the action objective to oneself. So that's what I was sharing, that a tendency has to take its whole circle, it has to take its full circle before you are able to stand apart from that tendency and look at it objectively. Now, obviously, this capacity to look at it objectively is there 24/7 with us. But at times, we are not able to do it because we are so heavily absorbed in that tendency. We are one with the tendency. And although it should not become an excuse to remain in that tendency for a longer time, but because it can become an excuse. But even if it becomes an excuse, it will just be bothering me and no one else. Or maybe, yes, people around me, but yes, it is completely a botheration. Yes, this uneasiness and pang in my heart. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yes, anyone else?
I've realized that if when at the end of the day or the evening, when you have your me time of being silent and communicating with yourself, I've developed a kind of an answerability, you know, when you answer to yourself whether certain events that you did and you woke up to them in between, and some that you didn't wake up to, and why you didn't wake up to it. So if a kind of an awareness develops, which I call answerability to myself, my conscience, or like you have an answerability buddy who is the other you whom you're answering to, automatically the number of errors start to reduce. Though it is noticed by others much later, but within yourself, you know, it comes faster if you do um, uh, a mathematical plus and minus at the end of the day, that this is where I slipped and this is where I understood, and then uh, it falls into place.
Yeah.
Can I be understood?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And it works. Every day I'm my own answerability buddy, because I haven't found an answerability buddy to tell that, look, I did this, but I was thinking this. And nobody will listen to it every day.
Yeah.
So you find yourself as your own answerability buddy. And whether we pen it or not, you know at the end of the day what you've been up to within yourself.
Yeah, totally. Yes. Thank
And the musty moments, you know, the when you are not aware of what you have slipped up on, they will come in more strongly to tell you that, look, you slipped up here, this was it.
Yeah.
And then you tell yourself, okay, next time I will try that I don't do it. And it happens 2 times, 3 times, but by the fourth time the gong goes, look, you're doing it, don't do it, don't go that way. And you know, they uh, I found that works for
Yes.
me.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Josna, the very beautiful practice that you shared, because mother is saying that at the end of every day or whenever you have time, just like you said, reflect. And she said that use the psychic screen. She used the terminology that use it as a screen and reflect whatever you did throughout the day on that screen to see whatever you did was right or wrong, or as you just like you said, that answer to yourself whether you were up to your own standards or not. And the second thing is what she said is, as you deepen this practice more and more, you reflect and you try to understand yourself. Because often what happens is we don't work or we act without understanding. And as we deepen this practice, the biggest benefit is we understand ourselves more and more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
The awareness increases, Jishnuji.
Exactly. Yeah.
And when then it comes to the plus minus comes to that, wherever you've done sort of correctly, those filter out. There's no shabashi, they just filter out. You don't remember what you did right, but what you did wrong only stands over there. So the minus is sitting there in front of you, and then you have a list of where you can correct yourself, and then it sort of becomes that no, I must correct this because I've got to reduce these negative instances, and then slowly the awareness bangs in better, because though we say you should always be positive and you should give yourself a boost and all, but no, where you've done properly or you've been aware and with an awareness you did something correctly, they all fade away. But this stays, and then I learned that it probably stays to teach me to rise above it and rise above it and rise above it, that way.
Yeah. It's almost like this path towards perfection. Mother, to those people who could not take the word divine or not relate to the word divine, mother would say, okay, use the word perfection. Because if an artist is there, for example, or a musician is there, he would always be trying to perfect his art. He would never say that, okay, mera ho gaya, I am satisfied. And that's why mother says that don't ever get satisfied with yourself. That is the beginning of your doom. The moment you get satisfied with yourself, that okay, I have done enough, I'm perfect now, nothing to change. And that's how an artist works. As Josna ji was sharing, that if I'm making an art, I would just see wherever the errors are or wherever I can make it more beautiful. So all the time my idea is to how to make it more beautiful. Yeah, this is okay, but how to make it more beautiful. So like this, if we go ahead on the path, this journey towards ever progressive perfection, and we can never reach perfection. Mother would share, when Champak Lal ji, I think I read it in Champak Lal Treasures, where he shares that even if something is done or suggested by the mother, she would always, if I come up with a better suggestion, she would always take in that suggestion if it appears beautiful to her, and include it in whatever she was preparing. So even a thing decided by the mother, she's also very very curious to know, okay, this can make it better, so let me go that way. I think that is so much of joy if we go on ahead on this path, forever correcting ourselves, forever, looking at whatever is not really beautiful in life, correcting, noticing the uglinesses in life. I think this itself is so much of joy. Yeah. Jishnuji, you wanted to share something, please share.
Yeah, I'm just sharing a very on expanding on what Josnadi said, is that the psychologists, they did an experiments, sports psychologists. So they selected in sports or any other things, what we say that the more you train, the better it is. So they trained two sets of chess players, and they found that okay, so one set of players will just play and continue to play. The other set of players will have limited games, but after each game, they will have a feedback session on where they went wrong. And naturally, they found that the people who are playing less but going through the feedback session and of course working on them improved further. So this process of which Mother said, and as just Nadi thankfully brought it up, of this self-reflection is actually that process of providing feedback to ourselves. And as she said, that once the gong goes off, that is when you decide to correct yourself, then naturally we improve. So I thought I will share because I had read it in one book about sports psychology.
Beautiful. Yes. Yeah.
There is one very interesting uh, uh, anecdote of a sculptor, and there was a stone just lying over there, and there were very beautiful murtis everywhere, and a person came to him and said, what are you chiseling? This is just a piece of stone, such an ugly dark colored stone, just leave it alone. So he said, no, my job is to chisel, so I will go on chiseling away. The man asked him, what are you chiseling? How do you know where to chisel and how not to get the murti? He said, I am only chiseling what is extra. And my heart knows that the murti is there, and I have to only chisel the pieces that are extra, which are automatically falling off. It is not for
Yeah.
somebody to tell me.
Beautiful.
And our lives are also like that. We've got to chisel out whatever is negative. Automatically, divine is sitting there. Problem is we don't chisel it
Yeah.
because we don't see what to chisel.
Yeah. This ability to see our own errors and correct, this is the divine light that we have, uh, which is very special to human beings, and we hardly make use of it. And it's beautiful if we can make use of it, this ability to chisel and perfect ourselves, to look at ourselves with this light of consciousness. Usually we are just looking at all the people around us, but when this microscope turns inwards, then it can be even more powerful and harmonious. And then again, if it turns its lights to the external world, which is one, even more effective can it be. Yeah. Beautiful. So anything else, anyone? Shilpi, Swapna?
What was coming to me in this discussion around like the, objectivizing, putting on the screen what mother's exercise is another thing I'd also heard a few times spoken about, is the power of the imagination for sports people as well as for musicians, and it basically applies to any of us, which is that tests have been done that people purely from imagining, for example, learning a musical instrument, and they just use the power of imagination to learn their scales and practice just in imagination, not even on a proper keyboard. And they have the control group that does practice on a proper keyboard, and seeing that the group that uses their imagination comes up, I think something like as good as, or sometimes even better. And sports people, they rehearse apparently in their minds and visualize and see themselves winning or succeeding or doing a very good job, or just doing their sport perfectly, especially in competition, because there isn't a second chance. If there's a competition, that's it. You either perform and you get your medal or whatever you want to do. And how I was likening it just now to what we're saying in this prayer is that it's not just about like setting right in my taking a moment to say, oh, I didn't do that right, let me make it, that was wrong, I'm going to make it right, or this is how I could do it better. But also that imagining it, seeing how the right action as I now see it with the divine's help is lived out. So it's like a mental rehearsal. And say, Monica, when you talk about affirming, and writing, and what you were saying, whether it's a world event and putting it into the opposite or in ourselves, that as I would write and affirm, to then also imagine it or visualize it or use another one of my senses, so that this aspect of how imagination has a power to create and create change can be also harnessed into the whole.
Absolutely. Yes. Mother has said about power of imagination, that if you imagine, if you put your imagination to good use, where you keep yourself hitting with a bad, that I am not fit for yoga, and I am unfit, oh my god, I am fallen again. Instead of that, if you put into a good kind of domain, saying that my whole being is transformed, and reaffirming it with your power of imagination, it will actually happen. And let me just share one quote from Bible. Here it says, and all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing ye shall receive. So first has to come the belief that it is given to me. And Kabir ji also says, moko kahan dhoonde re bande, main to hu vishwas mein. If I do not have the belief that the divine is with me 24/7, and I have access to my highest possibility 24/7, if that belief is not present, then I don't know where to go. But if once you have believed that yes, this is the path and I will make it happen, that belief itself makes you capable of receiving, as you were saying, Swapna. Yes, so the belief and the faith comes first. Yeah.
Regarding chiseling out and the surrender, no, I will bring those lines from Savitri,
Yes.
page number 316, Book of the Divine Mother. It is Adoration of Divine Mother. Bring into life's closed room the immortal air, and fill the finite with the infinite. All that denies must be torn out and slain, and crushed the many longings for whose sake we lose the one for whom our lives were made. Now other climes had hushed in him their cry, only he longed to draw her presence and power into his heart and mind and breathing frame. Only he yearned to call forever down her healing touch of love and truth and joy into the darkness of the suffering world. His soul was freed and given to her alone. Yeah, this one, yes. This is the whole surrender. His soul was freed and given to her alone. And this is the chiseling out. All that denies must be torn out and slain. Yeah. This is a beautiful line in the initial stages when I started reading Savitri, actually. On one day, I got these lines from this page and I just memorized these lines. So daily I used to chant these lines as mantra. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Thank
it
you.
is so beautiful, this line.
Yeah.
We lose the one for whom our lives were made, running
Yeah.
after these desires, longings,
Yeah.
and greed, all
Yeah.
that. We lose the one for whom our lives are made. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All that denies must be torn out and slain.
Yeah.
Kabir ji says, man ko aisa mariye, man tukda tukda ho jaye. He also says that, just shatter the mind or the thought that, becomes a barrier between you and the divine. Just shatter it completely. That's what he says, torn out and slain. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Anything else, anyone?
I think only one, and it's not related to this prayer, but in general.
Yeah.
When I first read and prayers and meditation, and still read, the beauty of the language. If we think, I mean, nobody speaks. We all know about Sri Aurobindo, Savitri, his poetic quality, capability, but nobody speaks about Mother's poetic capability. Of course, she was a great artist. And when we read the prayer and meditations, we see that how perfect, poetic, and deep her sentences were, language, construction. And also in this respect, I'm sharing one anecdote. So we know that many of these were prayers and meditation were translated by Sri Aurobindo. Many of them were translated from other people in the archives. and some were originally done by Mother herself. So one person who was attempting to translate one of her prayers, and he tried throughout the night, and in the morning he went to Mother and said, "Mother, I give up." And then Mother said, "I knew, I did not tell you anything." And she said, "Even Sri Aurobindo could not do perfectly." And Sri Aurobindo himself told her that even I could not do it perfectly in English, what you have done in French.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. I also had read that, I think some author or someone language specialist
Yeah,
in
I think,
French, he also
yeah.
commented that it's the highest that French can have.
Yes, yes.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I mean, if you see even this, how beautifully she is singing, even here, I mean, we are not examining in poetry, but seeing, see, Thee, O Sublime Master, who art the life, the light, the love in all things. So I mean, if you read Savitri, when people who are know about language, they will say like peace and presence. When you use similar words, it creates a rhythm. And see here, she is saying life, light, and love in all things.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Jishnuji.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, life, light, and love. Yeah, correct. Yeah. Mm.
Okay.
One more thing which struck me in this was her humility of such a great soul to say that I still find it hard to carry out this consecration in detail. Amazing.
This is for the sake of us. She's telling like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, with a lot compassion, no?
To
Full
teach
of
us
compassion.
that be humble.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything
Yeah.
else? Anyone?
Thank you. Beautiful today.
Yeah.
Monica, the other thing that I keep contemplating on is I've heard like this yoga is Sri Aurobindo's yoga is dual and non-dual. And then if you look at the very, very last line of this prayer, are you able to scroll down there? Yes, I for some reason, I don't know, at least 10 times in the session, my mind keeps going to that last line and somehow saying, okay, it's not just like these two things that are one, where she says like within her and outside her, and that I liked how you pointed out that it was like doing her own yoga and the world's yoga. But now this, I have now a constant and precise perception of the universal unity determining an absolute interdependence of all things. And somehow that, I can't quite put my finger on it, but it seems to be that line sums up this dual and non-dual aspect of the yoga. I don't know if you have anything more to add on that.
Yeah. No, nothing to add, Swapna. Yeah. Yeah.
I think Sapna, this Sri Aurobindo himself wrote about his path, and he said that in essence it is the singularity of the Vedantism, whereas the path is the practical approach of the Tantra. And when he said Tantra is not the lower Tantra, he said the practical approach, that the divine is in everything, that approach. And here, I think, as we all know, that Mother had practiced Buddhism in details. And this interdependence of all actions and being is a very, very Buddhist concept. They don't believe in divine, they don't believe in the continuity. They will say that everything is interdependent. If you read Buddhist texts in details, you will say everything is interdependent. And probably 1912, Mother might have been practicing this Buddhism and others, those practical aspects. And maybe I have to see in French what's the word she used. But you brought attention to this.
Yes, and just this idea of, yes, my actions having not only an effect on others, but I guess it's also in Buddhism, or another wonderful teacher that I love, Byron Katie, where she speaks about the other, as myself. And therefore, then whatever, taking responsibility in terms of this whole prayer, this looking at one's errors, correcting them, and then when they involve other people, like, I guess we did already touch on that about feeling, when we can feel what another person's pain is, or especially if we've unknown to ourselves done that, or there's that choice element of, okay, if I do this and it's a good of the whole, which you always say, Monica, as you pointed out that way, and the highest good of everybody, or is it, a lower or a lesser action, which is just for mainly my benefit that maybe harms another, so it has all that in this last line, which I really appreciate and find powerful.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes. Yeah, anyone, anything else? Okay. So yeah, in that case, thank you everyone. Thank you for joining in and sharing all the insights and reflections. Yeah, I think we can end here also.
Monica, you steered it beautifully today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
beautifully.
comparing
Yeah.
with the time when we did it for the first time, remember? With
Yeah.
Alokda's reading also.
Yes.
And today is far more perceptive and deeper.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Everyone's sharing is beautiful, really. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And more
Thank you.
open, so it sort of it cements within us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.